Have you ever had that moment when you'd placed something on a table only to discover it wasn't there when you returned? Misplacing an item is something that many people experience. Sometimes you forget where you put an object and the next thing you know, it is gone forever. We're just forgetful and that happens. However, sometimes there are certain situations where you place an object in a specific place and when you go to look for it, it's gone, only to be found a few days later in the same place. At this point, you may find yourself doubting whether or not you fully searched that area. Could you have been hallucinating? What if I told you that this isn't entirely your fault, but rather the mischievous work of a little creature roaming your home? Homeowners in the Philippines, particularly in rural regions, are frequently victims of the Duende's trickery. They are considered to be responsible for the missing items in your home. They steal food, money, or anything else that interests them. They like playing pranks on people, but legend has it that if you ask them properly, they will give it back to you when you least expect it. Something which I have a direct experience of. I was told by a psychic last year that I have two bantays, one of which is a duende. Now, bantay is guardian. Knowing that a duende is one of my guardians made me happy. But I am not someone who can see or feel anything paranormal, so I can't really see these bantays. So the story I'm about to share with you is something that still gives me goosebumps to this day. I was cleaning my room when I noticed that the earrings that I put on the hook behind my door were missing one pair. I thought I misplaced the second one, but I know for a fact that I put both of them there. I looked everywhere and couldn't find it. I even swept the floor and underneath the bed with no success. I sat on my chair and remembered that the psychic had told me my bantay was a playful one. So I called out to him and asked out loud whether he was the one who had taken the other pair of my earrings. Of course, I did not receive a verbal answer. But for a moment, I felt compelled to look at my door again. So I turned my head to the door and saw the second pair of earrings I was looking for right there on the floor. It was right there. It wasn't there earlier because I swept that area and found nothing. I cleaned that area. It wasn't there. So I have no explanation for what happened. But it led me to feel that day, my bantay was playing a joke on me. The duende that I keep on mentioning is classified as a dwarf in Mr. Maximo Ramos's research. Dwarfs are generally known throughout the world. You might be already familiar with what a dwarf is, but in case you forgot what they are, according to Britannica.com, the term dwarf meant a sort of fairy inhabiting the interior of mountains and the lowest levels of mines in Teutonic and especially Scandinavian mythology and folklore. Dwarves came in a variety of sizes, with some standing scarcely more than 18 inches or 45 centimeters tall, and others at around the height of a 2-year-old kid. They were described as beautiful in some stories, but more often than not, they resembled stern old men with long beards and, in some cases, humped backs. Dwarves appear in various folklore across the world, particularly in Europe and Asia. In the Philippines, dwarves are called many names depending on where you are in the country. In the book of Mr. Maximo Ramos titled Philippine Demonological Legends and Their Cultural Bearings, it's noted that we have around 15 most common names of Philippine dwarves in the country. So we have the Ansisit for the Iloco, Kalangit for the Ifugao, Karangit for the Gadang and Ibanag, Dwende for various Hispanized group, Karangit for the Ifugao, Kutong Lupa for Tagalog, Lampong for Ilonggot, Lakat for Iloco, lamang lupa for Tagalog, matanda or matanda sa punso for Tagalog, muntianak for Bagobo, nuno or nuno sa punso for Hiligaynon in Tagalog, Umayan for Manobo, Sagay or Sagay for Suringaonon, and Taong Lupa for Tagalog. Yet out of all the 15 names listed in that book, we will focus on the most well-known dwarf in the Philippines, and that's the Dwende. Dwende is spelled as D-U-W-E-N-D-E and is derived from the Spanish term for a dwarf. The Dwende in the book The Creatures of Midnight by Mr. Maximo Ramos is characterized as small in stature. Interestingly, it has huge joints, hands, and feet, while having small arms and legs. The fingers of this creature are lengthy and bony. Their fingernails are long and rough and resemble horns. Their skin is rough and dark. They have a round face with high cheekbones. Their pupils are huge, spherical, and pointed. Their teeth and mouth are enormous. Their voice is high-pitched, like that of an elderly man. Many of our grandparents thought that duendes have weak eyesight but has a keen hearing sense, and that they would visit their home at dusk or shortly after, go under the eaves, and listen to the conversation happening in the home. Some of the older people back then even believed that the duendes live among us and we are none the wiser because we can't see them. And that is because the duende is invisible to mortal eye since they are creatures of the night. Now, it was mentioned in the book Philippine Tales and Fables by Manuel and Lee Dargilla that when passing near the duende's home, specifically the mounds or anthills, one would stretch out their hand before saying, "Old man of the mound, if it pleases you, let me pass." That statement made me think that it was just the longer version of what we Filipinos often say when we're about to pass a mound or an anthill, which is, "Tabi-Tabi po." Many Filipinos are terrified of upsetting the duende because they do not want to incur their wrath. While duendes are known to be kind beings, they can and will curse you if you offend them. A good example of this is when a man urinates on the duende's dwelling. It might create a bungao or inflammation of the male's genitals, making it difficult for them to pee. So, to avoid upsetting the duende, Filipinos say "excuse me" or "tabi-tabi po" before urinating in a particular area of the woods or simply walking by an anthill. This shows the duende that you respect their existence enough to inform them that you are passing by. It's that simple. Duendes, like all other unseen creatures, just want some respect. This could also be one of the reasons why some homeowners would leave some food on the floor or the tree where the duende resides as an offering, to show their appreciation for keeping them safe and hoping not to upset them. Other than your home, these little people are said to reside in rural areas, in trees, and sometimes in anthills or mounds, like I mentioned earlier. However, I just want to clarify that according to the research of Mr. Ramos, the Philippine dwarves are usually underground, and they enter their realm through the narrow termite tunnels in mounds. And they would often invisibly rest on top of these mounds. So, technically speaking, anthills or mounds aren't their home, but rather they use them as a tunnel to get to their real home or their real house. Now, in Madam Eden K. Nasayo's book, Bicol Beliefs and Folkways, a Showcase of Tradition, dwarfs are categorized as either black or white, according to her research. The white dwarfs are supposed to be happy and to cause no harm to humans. They reside in ceilings and attics, and the owners of the house occasionally hears their laughter. The black dwarfs, on the other hand, are malicious and have the potential to bring disease or death to the household they are staying. When black dwarfs inhabit a house, the residents suffer a variety of misfortunes. According to mangkukulam.com website, they added that black duendes are known to wear ripped black attire. They emit a horrible odor and are the devil's slaves. They are also scumbag liars. They are known to be one of the nastiest duendes. You might be able to speak with them if you want, but be cautious while establishing a bargain with this beast because it will do you no good. The white duendes, on the other hand, are supposed to be God's disciples and usually good in nature. They are reported to give flowers to seduce a female they fancy. They are not fond of showing themselves to you if they do not like you. They have the power to heal humans, and they are claimed to teach mankind spells and to bestow an amulet of power, invisibility, and strength on them. But black and white duendes are not the only kinds of duendes. Mangkukulam.com noted 2 additional colors, red and green. The red duende is said to be the most malevolent of all. They are seen as dishonest and untrustworthy. And people are warned to never do business with them or bargain with them because they will never follow with their promises. The green duendes are considered to be kind yet hard to communicate with. They like children and frequently appear to them. If you wish to call or contact a green duende, you must have a child with you, since they prefer to converse with children over adults. However, be cautious, because once they have attached themselves to a child, they may take them back to their own realm. The green duendes also have the ability to foretell the future and are said to know the winning lottery number. They will give you countless treasures in exchange for a sacrifice. No matter what kind of duende it may be very careful when dealing with them and value them. Otherwise, you'll be cursed, and it may cause your sudden illness or death.